Hello. We are now online for AGSB versus Bridgwater. This is a very exciting game. I believe this is the semi-finals of the UK Schools Esports Championship for League of Legends, and we'll see if how far AGSB and also BTC can go on for, because this is obviously an elimination bracket.
Okay, well, we are in pick ban now.
Draven band coming straight through.
And Olaf on the other side, obviously. Olaf now can be quite strong. Nocturne to round out the bans from AGSB Esports. Now we're just waiting on that last ban for Bridgwater. That's a Cassiopeia. Of course, these are all champs that are so strong with Conqueror. Obviously, the Cassiopeia, the Kled, the Olaf. It looks like Bridgwater are really scared of this updated preseason Conqueror.
And we see the top laner hovering the Nasus. The top laner is actually quite a known Nasus player. I believe he seems to be a Mordekaiser and Nasus player, so we'll see. And that is locked in. Again, the Nunu for Lemon Curd. He's proven himself to be quite strong on that champion in the past.
Sorry that I've got no sound coming from my client. I'm not exactly sure why that is. Yep, volume mixer has been checked, and the client does not show up there. So I'm guessing that's just a classic client bug. But we're getting into the second ban phase now. The Lulu already taken off the board from NHX. Fourth ban for AGSB is a Vigar.
And what do you think about this Gnar and the Narsus in the top lane?
I'm considering that at the beginning of the game, of course, Gnar is going to try and get that lead. But unfortunately, you know, as we crest kind of level 9, then there's not much he can do then against that Nasus as he starts stacking. Because Nasus, you know, you get some armor early, or you kind of finish that first armor item, such as Frozen Heart, and then you consider that actually Gnar's poke damage and his potential to try and get a kill on Nasus then just decreases exponentially, really, as the game goes on.
Definitely, and I think especially once Narsus has that ult up and ready, he can certainly run down Gnar with the Wither and the very low cooldown Q. It's interesting. We'll see what Hong will play in the bot lane. If he'll go for the classic Zyra Khan bot lane, or if he'll and he does. So we've seen the Zyra Khan bot lane come out quite a lot from AGSB Esports. Been
Villfire
a
on the
quite a
classic
combination.
Zyre that we like to see from him. And then, of course, aided by the Khan from NHX, we can only expect to see good things from Villfire in this match against Bridgwater.
And now we have all the matchups online.
Now let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion. How do we see these lanes going? We've already had a brief discussion on the top lane. Obviously, this Nasus versus Gnar matchup. What we're going to see is Gnar wanting to early on get poke damage in against the Nasus to try and stop him from being able to become such a late game monster as he will want to become.
We'll definitely have to see some jungle pressure in the top lane for that to happen.
This is something that Lemon Curd is good at. Lemon Curd, especially on a champion like the Nunu, where he can get around the map and cause things to happen. We've seen this from Lemon Curd. He knows how to get around the map. He's good at it, and he's good at applying pressure on several lanes at once. And that's what I think we could definitely see in this particular game, him applying pressure in these different points that need it, such as in the top lane early on, try and get some early deficit on the Nasus, really.
And I have to say, for the mid lane, as an Annie player myself, I think this matchup is very good for AGSB. Rise has a lot of shove, even in the early game when he's quite weak. So he can really help Nunu in these river brawls much better than Annie can. Although, of course, once Annie gets to level 6 and Echo's there with his high amount of burst damage, the Rise will have to be very careful.
Okay, I'm seeing things about Frozen Heart being useless. Frozen Heart would not be useless as Nasus against Gnar. It slows the attack speed of the Gnar. That's exactly the kind of thing you want. It also grants a lot of armor against the Gnar. Of course, Frozen Heart, I can imagine, would not be a useless item for Nasus to pick up. And of course, one of the most important reasons that Nasus likes to venture into that Frozen Heart territory is the massive cooldown reduction you get from it.
Definitely, as a
Nasus always
wants
wants cooldown reduction.
The 20% CDR in the early game is very, very useful for Nasus, and especially when you have your Sheen, and maybe you have your Transcendence or your Scaling Runes at that point. You'll reach your 40% CDR, and you'll be very happy to start stacking up your Q for and trying to one-shot these squishies. I think the bot lane should definitely be in AGSB's favor, though. I think that lane, the Vayne, not only is a very weak early game champion, the Zyra Khan synergy, they're able to get very good, very fast engages and deal massive damage with the Zyra.
Yeah, we might see from Bridgwater is a tendency to wait until the late game when Vayne and Nasus just come online, really. And Echo then as well can start one-shotting people like the Zyra and the Rise, unless of course Rise is able to get his particular combos off to be able to get out. But especially Rise doesn't have that inbuilt shield in his kit as he used to. It will be harder for him to stay alive if someone like the Echo or the Nasus tries to one-shot him.
And we can't ignore the Annie. Especially in these coordinated plays where they're quite bunched up, ready to death ball team fight. The AoE stun from the passive combined with Annie's R, maybe even combined with a flash to get a quick engage, it'll be absolutely devastating to the side of AGSB. With these squishy champs, with the Rise, the Zyra, and the Rakan.
Okay, well, spectator delay over. We're going to start getting into game. I very much hope that the sound issue will be fixed. Otherwise, I might have to restart my particular game client. This is a true damage echo.
Seeing very standard runes.
Mastery 6 echo.
Nothing interesting to look at there.
Lemon Curd is a Mastery 7 Nunu. This is why we've come to expect such good kind of macro plays from Lemon Curd's Nunu.
Definitely.
He understands how to play the map.
Speaking of the macro play, what kind of level 1 rotations are you expecting to see?
Well, we haven't actually seen much level 1 shenanigans from AGSB in any of the kind of previous games of this particular season. So I wouldn't really expect to see them do anything different this game. I'd expect them to go their classic kind of 5-point start, give a leash, as they always seem to do. I don't think they want to take that massive risk at the beginning of the game of potentially leading to a simple game loss, basically. And then you have to remember, this is now the semi-finals. This is such an important match. If you lose this one, you're out. But if you win this, you're in the finals. And that is something that, of course, both teams in this game are just looking for, and they're trying to get that win. Okay, we get into game. The sound does seem to be working, thank God.
Let's get up the scoreboard and the objective timers.
I'll also fix the screen size for you.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
So yes, it looks like we'll see standard starts from both teams, just guarding the buff in case of an invade, which isn't going to happen.
I can also put up dragon spawns for you.
Minions have spawned.
I'd also like to point out the club synergy. Everyone got AGSB in their name for AGSB, but not quite the same on the opposing team. Only 3 of them, I think, have BTC in their name. It's that club synergy advantage for AGSB Esports as they start leashing this red buff.
One thing we do see, which is quite interesting, is a very early ward into the blue buff for the side of AGSB.
Yeah, that deep ward is going to let them know.
So that'll, if we see the echo going there, we'll know we'll be able to glean some information as to what pathing the echo has done and where he might go after his first back.
I mean, I would add that even just by putting that ward there in the first place, they can guess that Echo has started on that red side, and they can kind of guess that, well, we're not going to see much pressure from Echo in this bottom side, at least for the first few levels. And that's something that NHX might want to take advantage of as he gets to level 2. Vayne obviously taking care of that, trying to get some early poking so that Rakan doesn't want to engage so early on. So Hillfire missing some early CS.
However, I'm sure despite some CS being lost, the early game advantage will still lie with Desire.
And here we see that early trading that we wanted to expect from the Gnar. He gets the wallop stun in, and I can't expect that this will be a kill, but that will certainly be a lot of damage down onto the Nasus, as now Lemon Curd, with his signature macro plays, I reckon this is a kill onto the Karma for first blood, and now they're looking for a second kill onto this Vayne, and they are going to find it with help of red buff.
And we'll now see a bit of snowballing in the bot lane, maybe, with both the laners getting a kill. Obviously, that isn't quite as optimal as perhaps the Zai getting both the kills.
And I'd suggest
But,
that was very much aided by the ward that you pointed out. They knew that Echo was still going to be topside, and so level 2, Lemon Curd can just walk downstairs and take that gank in the bot lane as he now comes mid lane, and that could be an easy kill, or at least a flash they get out of Andy in the mid lane on that Annie.
So flash burn for flash, it's probably a worthwhile trade considering how much more mobility Rise has with his phase rush, and how easy it is for Nunu to repeat gank with his snowball. So in fact, after Nunu gets his red buff, we'll have to see where his pathing leads him and whether he'll go back into the mid lane to try and punish that flashless immobile Annie.
And Annie very much relies on flash very often. When compared to someone like Rise.
He can very easily run phase rush.
We're definitely seeing that early pressure from Gnar that we wanted to see. He's on 30 CS, whilst Nasus is on about half of that. But Echo is now around Krugs, and he might be able to do something if Gnar wants to be a bit cheeky under tower here and tries to bite off a bit more than he can chew. But it looks like at the moment he's okay. Echo starts to walk around.
And one thing that's important to notice is that Gnar's rage has just run out, so he still can't gain rage. So if Echo goes for a gank now, which it doesn't seem he will, although he might be coming.
Echo coming round now. Wither down onto the Gnar. The Gnar is now looking to be able to get out. Is he able to get the kill onto Nasus? He drops into the alcove, and I reckon he's able to get that kill. But flash from Nasus means that unfortunately for Gnar, he's just going to die.
That was an excellent play onto the mini Gnar. It was very important for the Echo to realise that Gnar wasn't going to have his mega form for at least another 10 seconds, so he could easily make that play onto the very squishy baby Gnar.
Fortunately for Ewan in that top lane position, he still has a huge CS lead, almost double now, from 20 to 40 of what Nasus has, and that's exactly the kind of thing that you want when you're facing a Nasus. You don't want him to be able to get those CS stacks so quickly and to be able to then be so powerful.
And we see the early Drake coming through the side of AGSB. That Mountain Drake's going to help a lot with the Nunu and with the Gnar in his mega form. Although it does mean that we won't see the Mountain Soul, which is perhaps what Nunu would prefer as a
stun and a Tibbers from Annie onto Rise is going to ensure that he's not going to follow up with his trades onto Annie. But that's going to be a disengage from Rise, and now is he going to come back in? Tibbers is following, but on too little health. Lemon Curd coming in with the snowball. Is he going to be able to catch Annie? Yes, he does, and that's going to be an easy kill, aided by Lemon Curd on the Nunu onto the Annie in the mid lane.
And so far we're seeing the prowess of Lemon Curd on this Nunu, not only with his objective control and getting that early Mountain Drake, but also two very effective ganks onto the bot lane and then the mid lane.
We might see him stealing away that Rift Scuttler as we see a bit of a trade here from Ewan. Yes, he did steal away the Rift Scuttler, and now Echo, forced to flash away, cannot fight that against the three members of AGSB in that bot side river.
And I think this is definitely the strength of having a hard shoving mid lane and a very strong early bot lane. Because it means that this Nunu can almost do as he pleases in the bot side river, and even to some extent in the bot side enemy jungle.
Yeah, this is a lot of what we kind of wanted to expect, a kind of early pressure from AGSB with the champions that they've picked, although they still have a lot of late game presence when that Rise begins to come online and that Xayah comes online. But early on, they've got such power in the Rakan and the Nunu and the Na to be able to pick up these kills that they have picked up all over the map.
And of course, we've got to talk about the wombo potential of the Rakan and the Na. And maybe even a Nunu ult on top of that late game. So it's not like this team doesn't want a team fight later on.
Yeah, AGSB, I found they always like to do these drafts where they're very much looking around what works in a team fight, what synergizes well together in a team fight, and they certainly haven't forgotten that in this particular draft, as Lemon Curd now positioning around the Rift Herald. E from Echo will give himself room inside the pit to be able to start getting damage onto Lemon Curd, and Ewan meanwhile just above, damaging that Nasus so he can't come and help. Lemon Curd now stuns up the Nasus, and unfortunately for Nasus, he's going to die. Echo now in a bad position, but aided by Annie, that is going to be a kill from Annie onto Lemon Curd. Na trying to do everything he can, but Echo will not die as Echo uses his ultimate to get out, and that is actually a good win in that skirmish for Bridgwater.
And we saw again the usefulness of the Annie and her very strong two-man stun with the Tibbers. And although she did immediately get stunned up by the Gnar ult, Tibbers could still do enough damage that the kill was secured.
It looked so good for AGSB at the beginning of that fight, in my opinion. It looked like they had control over it, especially when Lemon Curd switched his target from Echo onto that Nasus and then got that kill onto Nasus. I thought, wow, that's incredible from Lemon Curd to just completely change his target and be able to capitalise on the fact that Nasus was really out of position. But then Annie came in and saved the day and stopped Echo from dying, and also got those kills onto Lemon Curd and onto Gnar.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like the successful skirmish has resulted in any significant map control for Bridgwater. AGSB still have vision in the topside river. However, that might set a precedent. Maybe AGS will be scared to skirmish like that again, so the Rift Heralds might be secured. And of course, although I think the time limit for a second Rift Herald is finishing quite soon, we've got to remember that now there can be
stun from Annie will ensure that Lemon Curd's not able to get out damage free.
Once again, a small fight, not much gained or lost.
But now there's some wards being positioned around that Drake pit. Echo is starting to look towards taking that objective so that the journey towards the Dragon Soul is a bit more difficult for AGSB.
And which of the two possible souls would you think would be better for either side in this case? The Ocean Soul or the Infernal Soul?
Well, really, I'm looking at Inferno in this case. I think both teams don't want to stall anything out. They want to fight. And particularly right now, they want to fight. As an engage with Tibbers will find AGSB, but Vilfire gets a wonderful ult off, which grants him an instant double kill. Now he's getting another kill onto the Vayne, and that is disastrous for Bridgwater. It looked so good at the beginning. They had caught out Lemon Curd with a stun, but then Vilfire just came in and cleaned up, and he did so much damage. Now this will be an Ocean Rift. But yeah, it was capitalised on by AGSB so well they saw, oh no, we've been caught out. They didn't actually have a ward in that bush. They didn't actually know that Bridgwater were there. But immediately after being caught out, they didn't just give up and die. We saw ultimates coming out, and we ultimately saw better micro play from AGSB, which ensured them that particular teamfight win.
And it's not only the better micro play in that case. Although Nasus did indeed have teleports, only the Gnar ended up teleporting down to the fight. I think that's very important. Gnar was just there to be an extra member absorbing damage away from the carries, and also dealing not an insignificant amount of damage himself. Now we
pick onto Karma. Karma's just going to run away. Actually, it's going to be Vayne instead. That is the sacrificial lamb. I'm not exactly sure why Karma ran away there. Karma should have stayed and let Vayne live. Now Vayne's there with 3 deaths, and it's not great for Bridgwater, as they're looking at themselves being 3 kills to AGSB's 9.
And those 9 kills are definitely on 6 of them on the very hard carries of AGSB. And especially you've got to be looking at the 4 kills on the Xayah. No matter how much of a lead or how many kills this Vayne might get, the Xayah is probably going to be as strong or even stronger up until this very late game. Up until the very late game.
Now Echo trying to get a kill onto Gnar. I think they might be able to find it, but a flash from Gnar might ensure him his swift way out from here. He just escapes on a tad bit of health, but Echo is still here and he's looking for that kill. He puts down the W. Gnar realises that. He runs back.
See the Echo clearing out the vision around Rift Herald. With this very low HP top laner, it might be a chance to go for it, but the Rise moving up.
And now the snowball catches out Echo. Echo taking the shield, but I think he's just going to die here. There's 3 members of AGSB. There's not much he can do in that situation, even if he uses the Chrono Break.
Now we are going to see the Rift Heralds come out for AGSB. This is going to be the only Rift Herald of this game.
Vayne using ultimate, trying to get some kills down, but Vayne just doesn't have the damage that Vilfire does, and Vilfire then just gets an easy double kill. What we're also seeing here is a much stronger Nasus that's able to get some good damage down onto the Gnar. 3 members and a Rift Herald from AGSB is going to ensure no further damage from the Nasus onto the Gnar. They're going to get this first tower, and they might even look towards getting a tier 2 tower here as they push down both the top lane and mid lane. Vilfire taking some turret damage. That turret on such low power.
And it looks like the Rift Herald will be able to get another charge off, which is quite rare to see on the
new updated Rift Herald, yeah. And now Annie coming in. She's going to get a stun off in her Tibbers, but that beautiful ultimate from Gnar will ensure that she's not able to follow up with any damage. And so Gnar and Rise are able to get out of that situation.
You see the cheeky steal coming out from Lemon Curd on that. On the Nunu, just a bit of fun from the side of AGSB Esports. And now we've got to consider what are going to be the game plans from these side lanes of BTC.
Well, I'll tell you what the game plan right now is. This Ocean Drake spawning, and both teams are looking to set up around it. AGSB have a member inside the pit. Bridgwater clearing wards around there, but they're too scared to get too close. Rightly so, as AGSB has positioned 4 members around the pit.
We see the Narcissus guarding the river entry, and he will be spotted out by the Nar.
But
looks
Nar
like
is
a straight
stopping
hit.
Nasus from getting anywhere closer, and they're just going to get an easy Drake from this.
So now AGSB only 1 Drake away from getting the Dragon Soul.
And this is going to be a team fight. This Nasus running for his life, but Vayne is going to kill the Nar, who stepped a bit too far forward there. And that's going to be the 4th kill for Bridgwater.
And you've got to hand it to the Narcissus this game, despite being in a losing matchup and even getting ganked a few times. He's managed to keep it even and actually has fewer deaths than the AGSB's top laner.
A bit of reprieve for both teams here. They're coming back from that team fight that actually only resulted in 1 death. But they're now wondering what their next port of call is. 2 members from Bridgewater coming onto this Rise. Rise is going to run out as fast as he can. A teleport from Lemon Curd. Not from Lemon Curd, sorry, from Ewan. He might be a bit too late here, as now Echo and Nasus running onto him. Vayne here is going to seal the deal, as Nar is probably not going to be able to find any consolation prizes there. He's going to simply be taken down.
I think that's the Nar being a bit too greedy in the face of this Narcissus. The TP, although it was a good idea, the Rise just died too quickly before it to mean anything. So, although BTC were able to get this quick hit onto AGSB, we'll have to see how many more of these kills they can get.
I think that Nar might be doing a bit of a disservice to AGSB. He was doing so well early, but recently we've seen him kind of get a bit too cocky a lot of the time, pushing a bit too far up and then being caught out.
And you can see the lead he has over the Narcissus diminishing over time.
Very much. Although meanwhile, Vilfire is 6-0-3. I wouldn't say this isn't the kind of thing we want to expect from Vilfire's Xayah, which is something that he's proved himself very strong on time and time again.
Indeed.
And paired with this Rakan, we can expect to see some great plays, as we have already seen. Some great Feather Storms from this Xayah to ensure lots of kills for AGSB.
It's quite interesting, as the support on AGSB is often been considered a bit of a problem team member. However, in this game, he's really proving himself that he can play consistently, get these picks with the grand entrance, and ultimately help get this Xayah as fed as possible. So we see the rower 7 stacks away, and also the Seraph's getting quite the Archangel's getting quite close to becoming a Seraph's. And I think when these 2 items are fully stacked, the Rise is definitely going to have to be a force to contend with.
Absolutely, and he's already 3-1-0, 176 CS, which is the most in the game. He's definitely strong at the moment, and he's definitely only going to get stronger as the game goes on.
Definitely.
Unless, of course, this Vayne is able to have something to say about it. Of course, she wasn't doing so well in the early game, but I'll contend that we wouldn't expect her to against that Xayah Khan. But recently, we've seen her get a few kills back, and we've seen that perhaps this Vayne will be able to start doing damage and start being able to carry team fights for Bridgwater.
So we have the next Drake coming up in about 10 seconds. We'll have to see how the two teams will position themselves. Actually, the Echo is quite
Now
high on
Lemon
top
Curd a
side.
bit caught out. Echo trying to pump out as much damage as he can in the short time he had available to him before Lemon Curd was able to flash into his tier 1 turret mid lane. Which actually that reminds me of the fact that Bridgwater still have not taken a single tower from AGSB, and they're probably going to start wanting to try and take one of these.
And
Hellfire standing
not
on
only
board.
all the towers are also quite healthy, so it'll have to be a considerable team fight victory for BTC to be able to easily get one of these towers down.
We might see a team fight now as AGSB position around this Ocean Drake and start pumping out their damage onto the Ocean Drake. Bridgewater are here and engage from the Echo. They'll get charmed up, but the Tibbers will ensure the stunning of AGSB. Featherstorm from Xayah, though, unfortunately means for Bridgewater that they get a lot of damage down. Vayne still alive, pumping out tons of damage onto AGSB. Will mean that he's now Rise, trying to be the hero in this fight. But unfortunately, he's not able to be what he wanted to be. And Vayne hard carried that fight. I know that 2, 4, and 3. Vayne did a lot of damage there. Also from Annie.
The Narcissus getting his Wither down onto the Xayah really limited her damage in that team fight. And you could see, as it is with Narcissus, his Qs dealt considerable damage to the Xayah, and he was the main force that got the hyper carry, the Fed hyper carry, on the side of AGSB down.
We can expect that Bridgewater probably do not want to take this Baron, as they're just being killed by both the Baron and now AGSB, and AGSB might be saying thanks for the leash here, as they're now in the pit. Annie trying to stop them, places a ward down in the pit.
And it looks like
Khan knocking her up will mean that Annie is not able to steal away that Baron, and that's now unfortunately for Bridgewater. They win the team fight, but they lose the Baron.
that is quite a tragic occurrence. We saw the side of BTC playing that team fight at the Baron pit so well, protecting that Vayne so she could pump out the damage, and with the Nasus really diving onto that Xayah. However, I think a bit of an overzealous Baron attempt.
Yeah, they were so unhealthy that you can't expect that they would be able to get that Baron. Vayne was on such low health that she actually died to that Baron.
A summoner has disconnected.
And Annie wasn't doing so well with the health either.
We've got to be quite happy for the pause in this case, because it gives us some time to
Sorry, it
digest.
wasn't Annie. It was Echo.
Echo, yes. Digest what just happened. So, if we are to go back in time, we would see the.
A summoner has
Okay, reconnected from
back
Nasus.
into the game.
So we
That's
can
short.
expect that we'll be seeing an unpause soon. But yeah, what we saw is AGSB saying, oh, we need this 4th Drake. And then they put all their resources into killing this Drake, which means that Bridgewater are just able to come in, sweep them up. And there were some times in that fight where I thought, for one, that AGSB were actually going to turn it around. Of course, at the beginning, it certainly didn't look like that. We saw some early stuns from the W, from Echo, and from the Tibbers, from Annie. The crowd control meant that AGSB actually weren't able to do anything at the beginning of that fight. Vilfire turned around, used the ultimate to try and secure a lot of damage onto Bridgewater, but then of course we saw things like the Nasus stopping Vilfire from being able to do any more.
Now we see the an interesting item, the frozen hearts coming out on the Narcissus.
I wouldn't
we're
expect
talking
Nasus
early
to
game.
ever buy Frozen Heart, would I?
Well, we see that the Frozen Heart has come out this game. I think in part to answer the Xayah with the very high attack speed and strong auto attacks. It'll the area of effect slow will of course the attack speed slow will try and limit the DPS that'll be coming out.
From the Xayah. And equally from the Gnar.
Yes, although I think Gnar's main team fact impact is the his very strong AoE stun.
Yeah, I'd say that Gnar's poking days are over, or were over quite a while ago really. Now his responsibility is getting a lot of this crowd control off in team fights, so that members like the Xayah and like the Rise can get out as much damage as possible in these fights.
And speaking of buys, we see the Xayah completing the Infinity Edge. That's going to be an absolutely massive power spike for...
Already 7-1 and 5. Xayah is now going to be very difficult to contend with, which is why the Nasus we see has been able to try and stop the Xayah, particularly in these fights.
So now we see the Rise pushing in the bot lane.
And we're seeing a 3-member top lane.
Going to be there.
Seeing kind of 3-1-1 here, as Rakan is leaving the Lovers duo and helping out Lemon Curd and Ewan in this top lane, where Echo can't do much without some team help. Vayne now walking up to try and get some health down. Of course, Vayne can get out a lot of damage onto the tankier members of AGSB, such as that Nunu and such as that Gnar.
So you've got to wonder why AGSB aren't trying to I don't know, maybe a 1-3-1 formation and trying to get down this mid-tier tier 1
skirmish here. Bit of damage going down on both sides, but nothing substantial just yet.
Of course, any substantial damage would be quickly healed up by the Ocean Soul side of AGSB.
And an Elder Drake spawn actually in 1 minute, which could explain why AGSB is starting to set up around this Drake pit. Of course, for them, getting this Elder Drake would be no joke.
I think the Elder Drake would definitely spell the end of the game. The very strong, basically limiting all of the members on BTC to 80% of their health bar. I very much doubt that they'll be able to win a team fight with that kind of handicap plus upon them.
I think it's very unfortunate for BTC that they lost that Baron earlier on. I think we'd be seeing a much more different game if they'd actually gained that Baron and they'd have been able to get push and it'd be a lot more even. But the fact that they conceded that Baron and the fact that it went over to AGSB means that now they're still at such a deficit that they might have to give up something like this Elder Dragon. But we might see what they did last time with the last Ocean Dragon.
And I want to, the Vayne is finally in a position to join the fight, so we'll see if BTC will move forward with this.
I reckon AGSB aren't going to be fooled again. They can't take it the second time with this flank from Bridgwater, which Bridgwater are now probably going to want to try and repeat their success from last time with. A Scuttlecrab take from BTC will ensure that they at least have some control around this pit. And a teleport 2 teleports from AGSB will mean that they start trying to end, but this isn't good for AGSB, as now that's a double kill from Echo onto the Zyra Khan. Unfortunately, without their Rise and without their Gnar, there's not much they can do. It's simply just Lemon Curd on his own, and they're probably going to lose their Elder Drake. And Lemon Curd now dead as well. Tries the Absolute Zero inside the Elder Dragon pit, but he is not going to survive that one. And the inhibitor is going to be the consolation prize for AGSB, as they kind of made a bad call there, I would suggest. Taking 2 teleports.
Suggest that so close to the dragon pit, choosing to send 2 of your members top lane, definitely a bit of a questionable play. We definitely saw BTC take advantage of that 3v5 situation. Well, 3v4 situation actually, because the Narcissus
Baron now being taken by Bridgwater. It's at half health. I wonder whether AGSB are able to do anything here. It looks like they won't be able to, as it crests the 2,000 health mark, and Annie is getting a double kill onto AGSB. This might be the 3rd one from Echo onto NHX, and unfortunately for AGSB, this might spell the end of their BEC career for this season, as this is for the first time this game Bridgwater have more kills than them. And for the first time in this game, Bridgwater look like they are in a commanding position with both the Elder Dragon and Baron buffs.
Yeah, definitely. BTC have seemed to just be winning team fight after team fight, and you've got to ask whether it's BTC playing exceptionally well, or whether AGSB aren't utilising the team fight potential of their comp.
Yeah, their team fights don't seem to be as good as I'd imagine they wanted them to be.
Because although we have been seeing some clean Rakan engages, it feels like the Rakan engages and then there's just no damage after maybe the Zyra isn't in position to start.
But it is like we said at the beginning of the game, isn't it? We said we might expect AGSB early on to be able to get significant advantages over BTC, but with that Nasus and with that Vayne, BTC are particularly looking towards the late game, and now, even if AGSB have great teamfight synergy, it means little if they don't have the damage that or the stats that champions like the Nasus and the Vayne bring to the table, and even the Annie. The Annie is doing a lot.
Yeah, we've definitely seen Annie with some clutch stuns on the ultimate. Really what Annie's very useful for in a game like this.
Very fortunately for AGSB, actually, no turrets were taken before this whole ordeal from BTC onto them. So what that means is now, with that Elder, as Philfire just evades death from Echo, but now with the Elder and Baron from Bridgwater, it means that they cannot push up to the inhib. Instead, they have to push up those tier 1 turrets, which we have seen them now take in all 3 lanes.
And of course, it's very lucky for the Zyra that the Elder Dragon buff had run out at that point, because otherwise the execute thresholds would have caused her to pop in such a way.
Equally unfortunate for the Echo then, and he now gets the death here, so AGSB and Bridgwater now on the same number of kills, and almost on the same number of gold as well. Same amount of gold, sorry.
It's definitely been a comeback story for the side of BTC. They've really managed to equalise this game after suffering such early losses.
I would say for the first time this season, I'm seriously concerned for AGSB's future in this particular tournament. Are they going to advance to the next stage? And for the first time, I'm seriously asking this question and wondering whether Bridgwater here are able to stop AGSB's final streams.
And we've got to consider the end of this game. Will this be a bit of a fiesta, a bit of a running it down mid 5v5, seeing who wins the team fight, or will BTC engage with some split push tactics, using the very strong split push of the Narcissus? Or,
Okay, some setup now near the Drake pit. This seems to be the story of this game, set up around the Drake pit. Echo's going to get an early death. Now, the Rakan looking for an engage, but unfortunately he's going to die. The Nasus does not seem to want to die on the other hand. Vayne is going to get taken down by the Gnar, and now that's 2 deaths on Bridgwater and 1 death on AGSB. A small team fight win for AGSB, but now they have pressure on this Elder Drake, which they should be able to get here with the smite on Lemon Curd. That is lacking from the side of Bridgwater.
so this is definitely looking like a victory, well, I say. Yeah, the AGSB will definitely have the advantage in the next team fight, and I believe that next team fight will
Be the
either
game
draw
winning.
the game or end the game, depending on which side wins it.
That Elder Dragon buff has certainly quelled some of the bleeding for AGSB and stopped them from losing just now to Bridgwater and kept their chances of being able to win this game alive. And now they are back in that commanding position that we've seen them in for so much of this game and for so much of this tournament even.
So, both times when we've seen AGSB get these rather free objectives, they've been able to catch out the Echo. However, now it'll be quite difficult, considering that the Echo now has a stopwatch on his belt, and of course access to his R and all his mobility. The one thing we've got to be wary of, though, well, the one thing that the side of AGSB has to be very wary of, though, is this Vayne now completing the Ginsu's, the Blade the Rune King, rapid fire, and now she also has a Quicksilver Sash. So even a strong Gnar engage won't spell the end for Vayne now. She's got a lot of counterplay options to whatever
I would
AGSB
definitely be
throws.
scared of the Vayne. Very fortunately for AGSB, they've got that ward in that particular large brush, so that they're able to spot out the fact that Bridgwater is setting up around there, and they're not going to take the Baron just now.
And we see the Baron started up, actually.
A W from Echo inside the pit. He's going to walk in, and unfortunately that might spell the death of him. No, Chrono Break will save him for now. Is Lemon Curd able to get the smite down? Unfortunately not. A steal from Echo, and now Lemon Curd dying to the Vayne. 22 kills to 20 at 40 minutes in the game. Lemon Curd not able to secure the Baron, and unfortunately for AGSB, that spells teamfight disaster. And I can imagine this might be an inhibitor take as Gnar just gets a kill onto Annie.
Well, we were talking about the poking days being over. Seems with the Elder buff, Gnar definitely packing quite a punch. And the mid lane inhibitor is going to be taken from AGSB. We'll see. Doesn't look like the game's going to be over just yet.
But this definitely evens out the game, and it becomes very scary for AGSB at this point. Before they had all these defences stopping Bridgwater from being able to run it into their base in the event of a teamfight loss. But we just see, as you said earlier, teamfight loss after teamfight loss for AGSB. And at the next teamfight loss, I can imagine that it wouldn't be too difficult for Bridgewater to just run it into their base and end. So we need to see a win here. We must see a win here from AGSB in the next teamfight if they want to be able to win this game. There's 2 exposed inhibitors in Bridgewater's base. It would be a good idea then for AGSB to be able to take those, get some pressure, because now we've already got a killed inhibitor in the mid lane on their own side.
I definitely think that AGSB should be positioning their Rise in this mid lane to easily shove it out and easily take care of those super minions. But it looks like the Rise is going to be trying to push the tier 2 turret in the bot lane. We'll see if he gets answered or if he's going to get that for free.
Yeah, it looks like AGSB kind of want to even out those turrets on all sides. I would suggest that it would probably be a better idea to try and get that inhibitor top lane, which is going to be easier to get if he's just pushing up the minions.
So I think for the side of AGSB, this is, well, it's quite unfortunate in their in that they were able to secure the Dragon Soul. However, obviously the Ocean Soul, while it is quite strong, it's not quite got the punch of an Infernal Soul, and I think that's obviously you could blame the current situation on many things, but I think that's one of the factors in BTC's coming back and actually lead at the moment.
We now see Siege in the top side. Fortunately for AGSB, they have the wave clear that they need to be able to stop any kind of substantial damage on that top side turret. And Baron buff has run out for Bridgewater, so it means that AGSB don't have to worry so much about a push into their base.
And of course now the Elder Dragon is back online. We're going to see yet
But
another.
an engage, Featherstorm comes out and roots up Echo, but Echo's going to get the kill onto Rakan. Absolute zero use from Lemon Curd, but Lemon Curd is going to die from this Vayne, which just does so much damage. Triple kill onto the Echo. Now Vayne's just running into the base of AGSB, and Vilfire and Ewan are going to have to do something incredible here to stop their chances of progressing to the finals of being squandered. An ultimate from Ewan will cement them a couple kills, but Vayne does so much damage. Vilfire unable to stop them, and this is going to be the dashed hopes of AGSB, as they are not going to progress, and Bridgewater win the game, and they are progressing to the finals.
And that is an absolutely tragic loss for AGSB. They played so well in the early game in getting these picks with their skirmishes in the lanes. However, BTC, with their both very well scaling comp and also with some exceptional teamfight play around the dragon pits, they just weren't quite. AGSB just weren't quite able to pull off the victory.
Very
And
unfortunate for them. They had such a good lead in the early game, and it started going downhill from the point when Nasus started actually getting strong, and Vayne equally started to get some kills and started to do some damage.
Yes, definitely. And Vayne, have to say, Vayne obviously playing a very late game oriented champion. Not only that, was playing exceptionally well. She was getting off the damage she needed to get in the team fights, absolutely chunking the tanks on the side of AGSB. And they just weren't able to answer. It's tragic.
Yeah,
to-
the
about the
top
way.
damage in this game was from Vayne, and second top was from Vilfire. That's very much the story of this game. It's whichever ADC was able to get out as much damage as possible before whichever champs on the enemy team were able to wipe them out.
We can see the sad story that despite Nasus, despite having quite low damage, was still able to put in the damage where it was needed. And where that damage was needed was onto Vilfire, onto the squishy carries of AGSB. And I think that first fight at the Baron Pit really, well, it didn't set the tone, but it changed the tone from an AGSB loss
Oriented.
into, well, AGSB stomp rather, into a much more even game. And I think slowly BTC just took their lead and pushed it further and further.
Yeah, it very much looked like the beginning of the game, a commanding victory for AGSB, but then all we saw was teamfight loss after teamfight loss after teamfight loss. We had such a good teamfight actually early on, if you remember, when Vilfire got a double kill, and then they practically swept the floor with Bridgwater, and Bridgwater all died, and they got a Drake, I believe. And there was also that fight at the next Drake when AGSB lost the fight really badly, and the only reason they were able to get any consolation is because then Bridgwater moved towards that Baron, and they weren't able to get the Baron, and AGSB took the Baron instead. That was really the only thing keeping them from the game then just completely turning on its head, which it then proceeded to do, as every team fight after that, Bridgwater similarly won even, sorry. Bridgewater similarly won every next team fight, and eventually leading to them being able to win the game.
Well, I think if we are going to pick an MVP, I personally would have to go for the Echo. Although he did get caught out a fair few times, he got a very clutch Baron steal, and he was also
That
able
Baron
to
steal,
very...
yes, definitely contributed significantly to the win for Bridgewater. I'd give it to Vayne. I think Vayne, even though Vayne had such a rough early game, they were able to stop that and able to just focus on being able to get kills, being able to play well, and we saw such great team fighting from Vayne later on. Such good positioning to be able to win those team fights and to be able to kill the members on AGSB that mattered the most.
So I think, although of course we are all quite upset at the loss for AGSB, I think we'll have to call it a day now. And hopefully next season, if AGSB choose to enter again, we'll see if they can get any further than this. Maybe we'll see them get to finals, and maybe we'll see them even take home the trophy for next time. So
Okay. Well, for now,
I've been Dargon VGC,
and I have been Aragon, and this might be the last time you hear from us.
so see you next time, maybe.
Maybe.